ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Season 1, Episode 4 of the Old School Player of the Week. This week we have challenger Drew Magary up against returning champion David Roth. Gentlemen, how are you both?
This is a game? Are we fighting or something?
We are going to fight, but it's not a game.
Oh, okay.
It's deadly serious.
Yeah, this is... Do I look like I'm here to fucking play with you, man? Is that
guys need more?
It's I would say that it's not a competition, but that there are winners.
Okay, all right. Is it like around the horn where like you're assigned arbitrary points for having the most lucid take?
Yeah, you printed out those little masks on popsicle sticks, right? Like you're ready to go with that?
Yes, yeah.
You have one of Tony Kornheiser making his bathroom face you can hold up whenever.
My wife is a mask factory. She like found a new design for the COVID mask, and she's like, "Ooh, this is quite fetching." I was like, "Yeah, it looks good, very cute." Like that's where we are now. We're grading masks on adorableness.
Yeah, I need like spicy prints or like what's setting it apart?
It was like a candy stripe pattern this time, but like, you know. It is not as sexy as like Candy Stripe Nurses or any other softcore classic, alas.
Yes.
But
none of our classic tropes.
One day, apparently there is COVID porn. I don't know how they made it, but like people wearing masks and stuff. I don't know how that could possibly be erotic to anybody. Like maybe David Cronenberg is like really into it.
Well, I think we do need to get the Tony Kornheiser and Stephen A. Smith visage COVID masks. That's next up.
Yeah, I think that would be just something where you could put it on and it's like Stephen A. making like one of his like really like like if someone just said something, yeah, right. Yeah. Like if someone was like, I don't think Charles Oakley was actually that valuable a player. Like the face he would make after hearing that. Like, that's what I want.
Have they done ones where it's a lower half of, it doesn't have to be your face, but like any other face? So like my face, like the top half of my head could blend into the bottom half of like Channing Tatum or something like that.
It would be really like those like the posts you see on Twitter with like the "Did it work" one where it's trying to put like whatever Britney Spears' legs on James Gandolfini's body.
Yeah.
With your own face.
Yeah, I would do that.
That's an innovation whose time has come.
It would be like a freeze frame in Michael Jackson's Black or White video.
Yeah.
When everyone morphed at the end.
Yeah. Be like,
this is not exactly what you guys are asking for, but I do have the Hulk Hogan bandana.
Oh, that's all right.
You kind of look like the Hulkster.
I can't approve of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, we're not allowed to
right now.
Discuss him. But yeah, anything that's got any of that sort of energy to it is good. I was just cutting the sleeves off of old T-shirts for a while and wearing those, and they just mushed my face down and were very bad. And we finally did order some like reusable ones, but yeah, I cut both the sleeves off my Swarthmore College radio station T-shirt, which it makes it now the most embarrassing potential workout shirt imaginable. Like the idea of just showing up to give someone buckets in my SRN T-shirt with like a Spiro Agnew quote on the back.
I didn't even know you went to Swarthmore or that you hosted a radio show there, but it makes all the sense in the goddamn.
Yeah, I was there for one semester, and I learned a lot about how upset a person could get in college.
All right, so real quick, so that we are not here all day and we actually do get to remember some guys, let's do quick check-ins. David, how are you guys holding up in New York?
You know, I think I've said bad already when you asked that question. Like, it's a real nasty time, you know, just in general to be alive. The city itself is like an acceptable level of terrible in my neighborhood. You know, like people are playing by the rules and, you know, everybody's upset and shitty, but I wouldn't say that I'm used to it, but like there's a level of getting acclimated that I've like sort of achieved. It's just really a lot to sort of carry in your mind at one time. You know, like my sister's very, you know, much on the front lines of this thing, and I worry about her and I worry about a lot of other people I care about. And so it's sometimes I found it tough to make stupid jokes online as a result. But
you power through.
I'm working on that. And, you know, there's Korean baseball. There's all kinds of other self-care things that I can use to replace the ones that don't work for me that I've been sticking with.
Oh, yeah. Drew Magary, first time on the show, you are locked up with small children and have a new book coming out. Let's hear about the book. Is this novel number 3 for you?
It's novel number 3. It's Point B. It's only available at Amazon right now because I just had to burp. I self-pubbed it because publishers were lukewarm on it. And as a self-publisher, you go through there's a whole gauntlet you have to go through to get something self-published. And I don't mean it like of approval, because anyone can self-publish anything. It's just formatting and registering your account and just getting everything set up and getting the page to look right and the cover and all that. And I have to do it at other places. I just haven't been able to do it as quickly or as effectively as I could. Amazon, which is kind of the most important one because it's, like 60, 70% of your sales are going to come from there. So you may as well start there, even though they're the Death Star.
Yep. And you are managing your quarantine all right? You're hanging in there?
Yeah, we're doing well. Because my kids are all 8 and above, so they understand what's going on. They don't like it. It's boring to them, but they're also at the age where they know how to entertain themselves fairly capably, which is good. So they're doing fine, probably better than my wife and I. But, I'm very fortunate in that, none of the income that I had coming in is dried up yet. And we have a spacious house, and we're not somewhere. We're in a part of Maryland that has been hit relatively hard by COVID, but has that it has immediate medical care nearby. Testing is not hard to come by around here. And it's just not like, if you want to go to a park, it's not going to be, it's not going to be people, playing Ring Around the Rosie or anything like that. Like it's like people are keeping to themselves, and there isn't enough space for people to keep to themselves. So I always feel kind of shitty because I know that I'm in the 0.001% of people who are weathering this in relative comfort. And there are just so many people out there right now that are not and not able to. And also, I'm not among the people who are, being applauded for being essential when they're really being treated as expendable, to work at grocery stores and to provide stuff for people like me who order their groceries from Peapod and shit like that. I tip all I can. But no, that's not even the right. I mean, I'm tipping like $40 an order. Like, it's not just I can only spare $2. Like, it's as much as I, it's more than I can spare. Mm-hmm. But even then, that doesn't make up the difference. I'm still here at home and they ain't.
All of that really resonates with me. I appreciate you sharing all that stuff. Riley, you are locked up with a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old.
Yeah. It's crazy. I feel like every time we talk about this, I'm like, oh, they're crawling off the walls. They continue to do that. It's hot as shit here. So people want to go to the beach and they're mad that they can't go to the beach. And I just read that they're lifting a ban on most of the beaches in Orange County, which is scary because there seems to be like a nationwide kind of like, well, like we can't do this anymore. So let's just go back to normal, but with masks or something.
That's been the part that's been killing me.
It's freaking the shit out of me. Yeah. And
I mean, it's still not that many people that actually want to do that. But it's, people did the right thing for 2 months. People did things they didn't want to do, not necessarily just for themselves either. Mm-hmm. And the federal government didn't fucking do anything.
Right.
Yeah, it feels like wasted time.
Yeah, that's the part of it that has really been killing me this week. That and the fact that there's like all these people demanding that other people risk their lives so that they can go back to fucking Applebee's or whatever, which is so disgusting that I can barely say it aloud.
They did reopen recreational fishing here, which I think is responsible but good also because I can go fishing now. So
yeah.
Drew, before we proceed, I need to know if you can do the Baltimore accent. Is that something that's in your repertoire?
Oh, no, because I can only that's one of those accents where I can only do an impression of someone else doing the accent. Like when I saw like Fred Armisen calling it motor oil, like that, I laughed my ass off for like 10 minutes because he nailed it. Exactly. And my father-in-law has a really strong Maryland accent. So it's Tuesday, Monday, Wednesday. And then there's every O is ew.
Yeah.
I
I can't decide if Baltimore or Philly is my favorite accent. They're both so wonderful.
Philadelphia is the most berserk to me.
I think
Incredible. It's incredible.
I think they kind of bleed together, but they don't.
Yes.
Neither side wants to admit.
Yeah. When we had McQuaid on the Deadcast, I remember we lost like a whole segment to us just like asking him to say things. We were just kind of like I remember he at one point said that he'd heard somebody pronounce like Philadelphia 76ers, that he'd heard someone just call it the semi-Sixers.
Oh, yeah.
I've like never stopped thinking about it since then. It's just remarkable.
If you saw Joel Embiid in half.
Yeah.
We're 20.
Yeah.
20 and 12.
Where?
12.
Are you finding the letters? Like, how did you get there?
My woof, my I just said my woof. My wife goofs on me because
My
because
woof.
Sorry.
my woof, she goofs on me because I drop the T in a lot of words, particularly instead of saying winter, I say winter. And saying printer, I say printer.
Printer.
And she's like, I'm like, I gotta go to the printer. She's like, printer. I'm like, I don't know what to say. It's how I talk. I have some sort of bizarre Connecticut affect, even though I haven't spent any time in Connecticut in like 28 years.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's get to remembering some guys, shall we?
Yeah.
Here we go, fellas. We are going to get into it. This is episode 4 of the show, and we're so thrilled to have you. I believe, Drew, you are first up.
Oh, okay.
And here we got your first guy. It's Michael Pittman.
It's Michael Pittman. And before I
Christ.
did a Google image search for that card, I had forgotten that he played on the Cardinals before he played on the Bucks on the title team in 2002. So it was a nice reminder. Also, I thought of him because I was watching the draft, and Michael Pittman Jr. got drafted out of USC in the first round. And even though I had watched like a couple of USC games, or at least parts of them during the 2019 season, I never made the connection that he was Michael Pittman's kid, because there's some Pavlovian thing in my brain that requires it to be put in an NFL context before I link him to the NFL person. So it was during the draft, I was like, wait a second, is Michael Pittman his dad?
Yeah. I hate that stuff too, because it's like, when they go to the trouble of putting it like a junior on the end of their own name, it takes the plausible deniability out of it to me. Like, as far as I'm concerned, Michael Pittman played in the NFL 2 years ago. I know that's not true, but that, like, if his name was like, Marvin Pittman, I'd be like, oh, that's good. I remember there was another Pittman a while back, really big arms, real scary guy. But now there's no denying it.
Also, he apparently retired right before the cutoff, when every player started putting senior on his nameplate.
Yeah.
And if he had the senior,
that's a weird
then
one.
that would have helped. By the way, Pittman's a terrible last name. Just an awful name. I hate it.
Pittman. So yeah, the overwhelming characteristic of this card is this man's arms are insane. They're as big as my thighs. What species is this person?
It's the LaRon Landry arm.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember the classic
Christ.
photo of skin safety of LaRon Landry. Put arms that were like refrigerators. It was just like, oh yeah, he's clean. He's also super clean.
And they look like impractically big. Like, it was the sort of thing where, like, they were really, like, intimidating, but it would be like if you tried to, like, if you had to pick something up, and the only things that you could use to pick it up were, like, 2 full prosciuttos that you had to just do that with. That's not right. Like, just use chopsticks. You don't need that.
He was like Randy in A Christmas Story. He can't put his fucking arms down.
So apart from his kid being drafted, Drew, what are your remembrances of Michael Pittman's NFL career?
I remember and I might get this wrong because I'm just looking at the card and not doing any homework right now. And I didn't do any homework before the podcast because I'm a guest, so I'm not obligated.
That's right.
But I think he's a lot like Thomas Jones in that I don't think he was particularly useful with the Cards when they drafted him. He had to go to another team to flourish, and that's what Thomas Jones did when he went to the Bears and he became a more productive running back. And then Pittman, of course, went to Tampa and became a world champion. So it's amusing that the Cardinals are one of those teams where, you're going to suck for them, but then you leave and you flourish and blossom like a blooming onion.
In Pittman's case, was this the system didn't suit his skill set, or did he develop into something else, or did he just land in a system that was able to use his skills better?
I have no doubt that the system played into it because 2000 sounds right around like Dave McGinnis era of Cardinal, like, right in that area when the Cardinals were coached by nothing except interim coaches for like 8 years. But I can't. I assume it was used. It had to have been used. Also, just the fact that even though they went to the Super Bowl in 2008 and have had a relatively decent reputation since, they are a famously cheap organization with a famously cheap patriarch who died and gave way to another cheap patriarch who also happens to be a MAGA turd. So there's nothing to suggest that the Cardinals were a smooth, well-oiled machine when he was working.
Yeah. As I remember Pittman too, he was not what you would call a subtle football talent. Like that basically like his approach was to be that fucking yoked and then just run as fast as he could into like the space that was either there or not there. Either his right tackle or left tackle, depending on what the play demanded. And
yeah, he was good at running where people weren't and not much else.
I remember he used to play, he was one of the early guys to play with like the black visor on the helmet.
Terrifying.
Too. Yeah,
Terrifying.
So he was definitely like aiming for like maximum Terminator vibes.
Well, they banned him too, which sucked. And then they brought him back this past season, but they couldn't be tinted. You couldn't be your own Cadillac Escalade. You had to have a clear.
But it was such a cool. The NFL is always playing whack-a-mole with shit like that, where like anytime all the uniform modifications are always like both insanely stupid and impractical and totally bitching to look at, like the neck roll and all that stuff. And then like as soon as it starts getting adopted, the league is like, well, it's a little bit too much flair of Brian Cox. We need you to like get rid of the the fact that you have like a weird like one of those like lumbar pillows, but just projecting upwards from your jersey.
Oh, yeah.
Like we can't do that anymore.
You can't show your leg. You can't show your legs. Your socks have to touch your pants because they don't even have a good explanation. It was just something that carried over from like 1892.
My favorite memory of like this era of Cardinals football was I think it was 2001 when Martin Gramatica kicked like a 30-yard field goal.
Oh, this is iconic.
in like a week.
It was Bill
game or something. Was it? Oh, it was Bill. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill Gramatica against like I don't know some Giants or something like that. And celebrated and blew out his ACL and then blamed the rest of his career on that. Yep.
It's one of the, I think, of all the like kicker moments that I treasure, there's a lot, obviously, because I'm a normal person, that in general is just like, it's like the baby shoes never worn of like highlights. It's just maximum impact in the minimum amount of space.
All right, we got to move on. David, it's Lawrence Jones, the guy I like to call Larry.
One of my favorite baseball players, obviously, a guy that I loved watching growing up. The characteristic that you identified is so right.
It's a powerful duckhead injury. If people don't know, y'all didn't go to school in the South in the 80s or 90s where all the cool kids wore duckhead chinos and et cetera.
So the card itself obviously is hideous. It's one of his. It's
the
a valuable card.
92 Bowman are absolutely insane because fully 50% of the cards are dudes in street clothes.
Yeah, why isn't he wearing a uniform?
He had just been drafted, and I guess I don't know why you wouldn't just have like the regular Topps card from that year is him in a high school uniform with like zits, looking like a bully, but it's like identifiably a baseball player's card. It's impossible to tell what's happening here beyond the fact that it is in error, like that. Like just everything about it is wrong. And yet like that is what I admire about it. Someone Ian said that there are like all the draft picks for this, like when they were called to do the shoot, they were like, can you borrow a polo shirt like from your dad for this? It's important. Yeah. And then they just showed up dressed like this.
Wear some Nike Air Monarchs or whatever the hell those are.
Yeah, God.
Air Revolutions.
The braided belt is such a strong 90s white guy.
Yeah.
That's the part. And he's got it. And he's got it folded and everything too. Like he's got it kind of looped. So it looks like he's got a little micro penis sticking out. Just really good shit all around. I remember when people used to dress like this, but I have not, like I didn't spend enough time in like the actual Southeast to see it flourish like this.
I dressed like that.
I did too.
It's
for
prep
sure.
shit, right? I mean, I think it's just of that era. Like, I definitely would have worn that shirt.
Yeah. If you want to wear vertical stripes, you definitely want to wear a shirt that's like 4 sizes too big for you.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I might own that shirt right now.
Yeah. That's something that you can get actually if you Google search "buy shirt referee from Space Jam." You can get that, and it's the only result.
My operating theory was that Chipper gets uglier every year, like monstrously uglier every year, like when the progression after Barney Gumble takes his first drink.
Yeah.
Homer gives him. Like that's what Chipper looks like every year. Like he goes through that progression. But now I'm looking at this card. He ain't no great shakes when he was drafted either. So I might have just always. He might just get uglier to me every year.
Yeah, I mean, as a Mets fan, obviously I have to recuse myself from that statement, but it checks out for me. I think it's cool to see him. Like, this is like actually what baseball players are like when they're drafted. Like you see him in a uniform and you're like, that's a baseball player. But like, this is just like, a popular kid from high school.
With some
whose
big
parents
calves.
probably have some money. Yeah.
I don't know if this is
monstrous calves too.
I don't know if this is typical for you guys, but when I was at school, baseball players were dicks. They were much bigger dicks than football.
I hadn't heard that. Yeah. Riley, you got anything you want to feel that one?
Yes. Yes, I was. And most of my teammates also were dicks.
By the way, I was a football player and a dick, so I don't feel bad about putting my foot in my mouth. I feel like we're on equal footing, Riley.
Not me. I'm a nice boy.
Any thoughts about why they chose to stage this in front of a junkyard in Arizona?
It's again, it continues to unfold. I remember the outfit. Yeah, why are there like Quonset huts? Or like,
were they a Cactus League team? No, right?
No, the Braves at that time probably.
Florida.
Yeah, I think they still are Florida.
My guess is
Florida's right there.
Yeah.
My guess is that this is at his high school, because my high school, I graduated in '93. Mm-hmm. We were big on those Quonset huts as like portable classrooms because we ran out of space.
Oh,
yeah. So a bunch of students are probably sweating in those.
Yeah.
Where's Chipper from? Is he from California?
I think he's from
the
southeast
somewhere.
Yeah, seems like a Florida guy, but the cacti are making it a little odd.
Yeah, it's confusing. Like, it's definitely identifiably a baseball. I'm looking this up on my phone. I know this is vivid cinema, but it's like it looks like a team's facility. Like, you can see the light towers and like the shitty little structures and like kind of useless cactus formation there. But the rest of it, he's from DeLand, Florida.
There you go.
Sounds about right.
Called it.
Of the land in Spanish.
It is. Yeah, it is. But I think that is also where Jacob deGrom is from, possibly.
You would know.
Yeah.
DeGrom is from DeLand.
Yeah, everybody there has that name. His original name, of course, is Delary. That's what everybody calls him.
Anybody want to comment on the hat before we move on? It's riding high, looking good.
I feel like that's really your guys' territory. Crown brim, any notes?
I feel like
flawless.
You're gonna drag me, but I feel like bigger hats are more fashionable now than they were then. Like
they've just come back around.
Like that's a dad hat in 1992. Like my whole thing was like the game hat that was tight to my dome. Like it was with the brim that was curled like a fucking fruit roll-up. Like,
that was also the Duckhead boys rocked those for sure.
Like I would say,
you'd have your Gamecocks hat.
Yeah, I'd say Chipper's ahead of the fashion trend in that photo, but really,
fair point.
Yeah.
Riley, who do we got here, baby?
Oh,
we have Glenn Braggs doing something awesome in this baseball card.
Yeah, what? Playing
Is the bat flexing?
He was very strong, as you can clearly see.
I loved his cards because he was so like just yoked up that this is somehow a bad picture of him swinging, but he wasn't that good a hitter. But there were always pictures of him swinging, and they look good as hell.
Yeah, this is definitely a check swing on a ball that probably hit him in the back foot or something. But the most memorable thing about Glenn Braggs for me is in the 1990 World Series, he broke a bat swinging on a strikeout against Dave Stewart. And he also looks like he was built in the same lab that made Giancarlo Stanton. He was like the beta version, and just obscenely strong and like very handsome. And seeing him do that with a regulation bat just seemed crazy to me.
So what do you make of this card design? I mean, I wrote in the characteristics that people don't buy the cards for the photo of the player. So it's cool if we make that really small, right? And do tons of negative space around it.
Can I give props to the font? Because it reminds me of the opening credits of Miller's Crossing. It's like a tasteful movie casting font.
Begging, like, look into your heart when they want to take you out for a pinch hitter. It's tough.
And give me the hi-hat.
Starring Glenn Braggs as Nick LaRue.
I remember this card set very well. And
terrible.
Yeah. I think that you are right, though, that they did de-emphasize the photo because they knew that people loved large yellow borders.
Yes.
So in some way, they were ahead of the curve in that regard. Otherwise, it's very hard to explain what's going on.
It's like the GeoCities page of baseball cards.
It really is. Should have like one of those work in progress GIFs at the top of it. Like,
I love remembering. I love remembering old internet. I really do.
I do believe we have another view of Glenn.
Yes.
Look at the physique.
Wow, that's worse.
Yeah, this is for
1 year later.
Dave, who said that he looks good swinging. This is also him not swinging.
And he's got the outerwear as underwear thing during a game, it looks like.
I can't tell which direction of the field he's facing.
I think he's looked a strike into the catcher's mitt or looked a high ball into the catcher's mitt.
Because he's looking at the catcher, right?
Yeah.
Has to be.
When you think of baseball cards, you want to see what a certain player, how they take a pitch.
Yeah.
One of the most exciting parts of baseball.
Is there a bat flip only card assortment?
Or it's got to be.
Just photos of the dudes flipping their bats?
I would buy a card or a poster or a painting of the Jose Bautista one where he's like disdainfully casting it away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite images. Yeah.
The KBO dudes. The KBO dudes make all the American players look like shit.
Those are the bad.
They've got swag.
Yeah. This card coming after the previous card suggests that someone at Fleer had it in for Glenn Braggs in some way. Like, look how good looking and fucking, yeah, I mean, I guess if that's the way you can get your revenge is by progressively making the images on his cards smaller and worse.
Maybe they hated the Reds. The Reds are a hateable franchise.
At that time, they were definitely,
They were immensely hateable in the 90s and the 80s.
Anybody else get some Yasiel Puig vibes off of the this guy in this?
Yeah,
face,
definitely.
In this pose?
Yes, the eyes are very penetrating in that same way.
Yeah.
Pants.
He's not
pants.
Seriously.
He's not bitching anybody out in the card though, so I can't know.
True.
Those are indeed some of the tightest pants of their era, though. Like
ludicrous.
You can clearly see, like, not just like his wallet, but like the photo on his driver's license.
I'm an old dad because I like the tight pant look instead of the baggy one that Barry Bonds started. Like I like the Jim Thome look. I look sharp.
Yeah,
old school.
Pants got some stretch in them.
Yeah.
All right. My first guy is actually not a guy at all, but a state. I picked a whole state, you guys.
What a wonderful choice, too.
Because I put the slide deck together, I can do these things. This is an old veteran, 1787, entered the league.
Classic.
And the card characteristic is you got a fucking problem? I mean, look. Where do you reckon this is, David?
All right, so
down the shore, obviously.
It's down the shore, but it looks like it's a weird part of it because that view of the World Trade Center in the background suggests that this is not like a place where you'd necessarily want to be on the beach. Like that might be Sandy Hook, but that could also be like Perth Amboy, or like someplace like you shouldn't be able to see the city that close from the beach at the drink.
Yeah, that's like the view from like Liberty Park.
Yeah. That said, there's a lot of people in the water there, which suggests that all that medical waste stuff that you might have heard is overblown.
Ian, can I ask you about the cards, Ian? Because like that was a thing. They
Uh,
had-
2004 Upper Deck. I mean,
that was
Upper
the
Deck had more
stupidest
money than
shit.
they knew what to do with. They were just plowing it back into the company and producing cards for literally everything you could think of.
Were there like
All
were there
50 states?
are there stats on the back of that card like amount
There
of
are.
rice produced?
I don't have them to hand, but yeah, there's like population and motto, state bird.
Chief export.
Yes.
Yeah. So was this a whole set or was this an insert in like a set?
The history of the United States, the states and capitals subdivision.
That is
It's an
wild.
entire
So
deal. There's ones with like the Liberty Bell and shit.
I can shed a little bit of light on this just
Please
from
do.
when I was at Topps. This was around that time. So I left Topps in like 2005-ish or 2006. And then I freelanced for them for a couple of years. And most of what I did was basketball, and they lost the basketball license, which I think Upper Deck did basketball too, but then it all went to like Panini. And so they wanted to keep putting out something like the same number of sets, but they couldn't put actual basketball players on them anymore. So they started putting out these historical sets with like classic Topps layouts, but the cards would be for like Benjamin Franklin or like the invention of like the artificial heart, like just like completely bizarre shit. And so like the last cards I wrote for them as a freelancer were like all about the Apollo missions and like just complete whatever they could get like public domain images for.
The insane Desert Storm cards, were those Topps?
Those were Topps. Yeah, I can actually, if you don't mind me
I got a
wandering,
Norman Schwarzkopf rookie card.
those are solid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can sell all this shit on Fox News now
Yeah,
for like $200 a set.
yeah. That's, if you said the Franklin Mint produced them instead of Upper Deck, I think people would be more impressed. If you can handle me leaving the frame for 1 second, I can go get some of those cards because they're in the next room.
Lay them on me, baby.
All right, be right back.
I've also got a Jonas Salk rookie card that's like an era card that's worth a ton. That's not a real thing.
In COVID times, that crowd is giving me some pause.
Yes, nobody is
freaking out.
socially distant.
I do want to know what the stats are on the back. It's amazing when I was a kid, and this still happens. Like if you look up a country and have to do a country report, it's always like its chief exports are iron ore. Like that's vital to know. Like anyone gives a rat's ass. Like it's so weird, and like it carries over. It's like that's like one of the first things you see on like a country's Wikipedia page is like how many beaver pelts like Greenland produces in like a year.
Very, very Troy McClure film strip content.
Calzones and spray tans.
So these are from 2009, and they're Topps.
When you were
Heritage.
freelancing?
Yes, and
Okay.
so the cards are like, these are actually way more bizarre subjects than I remember. So this is Rachel Carson, author of Silent Spring. That's
Okay,
her
sick.
card. Nellie Bly, journalistic. Here's the Doolittle raid.
He could swing it.
Yeah, that's Matt Carpenter. That's a mistake. Red Adair. This was like a pioneering fireman who invented something. This is what I meant. But
Did he invent the fire hose?
he invented a weird type of axe. Actually, I think like it was my father-in-law was a fireman for many years. I remember telling him that I wrote the card. And he was like, "Oh yeah, the Adair axe. Like that's a good axe." And I was like, "Yeah, it sounds. You know more than me, sir." And then this is the one I was remembering. So this is a man named Norman Shumway, who you'll remember that was Alf's real name.
Yes, Gordon Shumway.
On the back it says Norman Shumway, and then where the position would be, it says cardiac surgeon, and then the text, which I might have written, I don't remember, was the year after Christian Bernard performed the first successful heart transplant in South Africa, Shumway replicated the effort at Stanford University. In the face of many failures, he persisted in his work and consequently made great advancements in rendering the procedure more successful and safe. People paid money for these cards.
So he killed tons of people is the the takeaway, the subtext.
That's what we mean by in the face of many failures. Like
he killed tons of huge body count.
He went 4 for 19 and like which is
just a whole shipping container full of dead chimps.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's like 266. That's not bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad. He's kind of
that can play.
He was like the Aaron Miles of cardiac surgeons.
Instead of OPS on the back, it's got oops instead.
Zinger of the episode. All right, moving on. Drew, number 2. We have another hand egg guy from you. Well, hey, look, it's J.J. Stokes.
It's J.J. Stokes. That's right. I remember because I thought J.J. Stokes would be. He's one of those guys who's a total shit-stomping stud in college, and you're like, that guy has got it. And also the 49ers have drafted a lot of wide receivers like this since Jerry Rice and since T.O. left. But I remember they got Stokes, and he was supposed to be heir apparent to Jerry Rice, and he was so not. He was absolutely not. And he's one of those guys where he had all the skills, just never put together. No one could ever figure out quite why. He just sucked.
He was like Brandon Lloyd, but like not even fantasy ownable.
Yeah, and Brandon Lloyd like ended up having like nice seasons, you know, like in Denver, and then he went to the Skins and stuff like that. But Stokes was like in that same category. Is the Niners also drafted Robert Woods at Oklahoma State, who was a god at Oklahoma State, and he sucked too. So they get these players who just like, you know, they seem built to be successful pros, even when you're watching them in college. It's not like Peter Warrick, where you would watch him and he would dominate college games because there wouldn't be anybody within like 30 yards of him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are guys who are like making contested pro level like plays in college. And then they get to the pros, and then it's not even that they get hurt. They just, some sort of magical sucking aura takes them over, and they never do anything.
I got to say, as somebody who cares a lot about names, and Riley and I do, J.J. Stokes is a superstar name. I'm shocked that he did not thrive.
Such a great name. And then he played at UCLA back when, and I don't know if UCLA, I think they only still do this sometimes, but they had the best numeral font in college football with the sort of the serifs, and I don't even know how to describe it, but they had the best jerseys in college football. They don't use them as much anymore. But when J.J. Stokes had one of those on, he looked like a stud. He was a god. I loved him.
This is you definitely flagged that this card design has some I would say critical issues.
Extremely fucking weird. There's another version with the gold foil that's even weirder, but this is the one Drew sent. I wanted to honor his selection.
Yeah, I'm a little cannabisally. I've had a little bit of cannabis, and I keep wanting to stare at the card and waiting for the background.
You should. Yeah, it's like a ship will emerge if you stare at it long enough.
It's like a Mastodon lyrics. It's like a Mastodon lyrics video on YouTube where like the stuff is vibrating in the background, specifically for people who are in my present condition. So I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for it to turn into like a fucking dragon.
They're like holographic SpaghettiOs.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be some deep meaning, some Masonic imagery in there.
Yeah, why is there like a crown? Yeah, in there with the other stuff.
Are those really there?
Yeah.
Whoa, dude, whoa.
Wait, so you're seeing them too?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Also, that card was an exclusive, so it's got to be worth at least $1.15, right?
That's the only card.
I have no value. Oh my God, I screwed that up.
That's because it's in.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
That's coming out of
defending champ next week.
That's coming out of my pay. Sorry, guys, I let you all down. David, your second pick, extremely strong. I feel like this is like the fifth time we've done this. This is like the fourth Diamond Kings variant that we've had. This one far and away the best one.
Oh,
completely phoned in and completely insane.
Yeah,
Is that
on
a
here?
fucking watercolor?
Yeah. This is, again, like if I'd known that Drew was going to be high, I would have picked this for both my cards. I've always loved this one. I remember pulling it out of a pack as a kid and being like, what are we doing here? Because like it's a painting by a guy named Dick Perez. You can see his signature down there. I remember when I was at Topps, they like, when Don Russ went out of business, they like signed a deal with Dick Perez, and that was like a big deal. Like I remember the brand manager coming out of his office, yes, and like they had to like actually gotten this guy to like draw some silly pictures like this. I don't think that anyone really thought that it was like he was a great artist or anything, but he was like the guy that drew baseball players. That wasn't Leroy Neiman or whatever.
The right side of his body is just exquisite, just a straight line. As if his hip never existed.
Yeah, lean in strong, man, or don't lean in, whatever. It's definitely, but it helps that this is like one of the goofier looking. It's not the cereal box White Sox uniforms, but you can see there's numbers on his pants. Like Dick's work was cut out for him in terms of making this image look epic and cool. And so what he decided to do was add some weird like Orozco David Alfaro Siqueiros like muralist details behind Calderon's head, which is really nice.
There's not enough of that though. Like if it were
I
really
know.
adhered to us, so there'd be like plumbing pipes and like a baby coming out and shit.
Yeah,
like
like that's what I mean. There should be like more, like I want like a ziggurat or something. Like there needs to be some sort of more. But as it is, I like the fact that it looks like he's standing with like the sun rising behind him, but he's just making like the old dirty face.
Like, it looks like his face is saying "pow" in like an old Batman comic.
My man is a Bigfoot. He's a Bigfoot.
He also looks like one of those wolf children.
Yeah, from the freak show.
That he decided to shave his cheeks and his eyelids.
Yeah.
No, but the wolf kid had hair like right under his eyes.
Only the eyelids being shaved.
Yeah.
Anybody have any memories of Ivan or Ivan Calderon as a player? Because I certainly do not.
He was a good, like he was like a compiler for a couple of different teams. He moved around a lot. But I remember him being like, there were a lot of guys that were Diamond Kings in this era where you were kind of like, well, they're really kind of lowering the standard for Diamond Kings. But like by that sort of slippery standard, I think that Calderon was like Diamond King worthy for at least a few years of his career.
Was there also a Jose Calderon?
Yeah, a basketball player for the Raptors.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. I knew the last name from somewhere.
But none of you guys remember him as a player at all.
I think I remember him, but Jose Calderon supersedes him now in my Calderon memory.
Yeah, I think that mostly I remember Calderon as a baseball card and not as a baseball player, which is kind of a common thing for me. But yeah, I should probably just admit that, I guess.
I kind of remember him as like an exceedingly moist anthropomorphic baloney.
Yeah, again. So that sounds about right. I do remember he was a wet look guy, always with the activator, and yeah, was a bit of a sweater. He died in weird circumstances. Like I think he was shot.
Oh.
Like yeah, it was weird, but it was like something like sketchy about it. Like I think it maybe had to do with I shouldn't say it because I don't know for sure. But
yeah, I think a shot would be sketchy under any circumstance.
Yeah, but it wasn't the sort of thing where it was like whatever. I don't want to get the old school player of the week dragged into court by the estate of Ivan Calderon. So I'll just leave it here. He's no longer with us.
His expression is troubling to me because it's got that like I'm not mad at you, I'm just disappointed dad thing going on.
Little bit of a shitting look.
It is. You go to the trouble of painting him. Like at least don't make him look.
He's like,
yeah. Like
hard to believe this is available for just 5 cents.
Yeah. Suitable for framing.
Beautiful. All right. Next up, we've got Riley. We spoke about him before, but it's boiled Bob Horner.
Yeah. David, last time we mentioned Bob Horner as like an aside to like a brawl many years ago. You mentioned that he looked boiled.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to find the most boiled Horner that I could on the internet.
This is the best one.
This is after hitting 4 homers in a game, and I guess also hitting like 4 six-packs.
Yeah.
Bud Light.
He's corned. He's corned.
Yeah. Certainly.
I'm just in awe of this card.
He looks like somebody else. He looks like Jeff Healy fell off the wagon or something.
Yeah.
He's got like a little Tom Berenger vibe going on, maybe.
Yeah, like that, or like a failed Gruden, something like that.
Oh yes.
Whoa, yeah, like a round Gruden.
Todd
like,
Gruden.
Yeah. Or like what's the Gruden's son that like is a power lifter?
That's Deuce.
Yeah, Deuce. So if like Deuce stayed on like the same amount of like muscle milk and like protein shakes, but just stopped exercising.
Yes.
This is, I think, what you would be looking at. This is one of my favorite cards. I'm so happy you chose it.
It's incredible.
Because there's something beyond the fact that he's like wearing jeans and stuff. Like he's doing the bare minimum. Fleer is doing the bare minimum. Yep. And yet at the same time, there's like a taunt built into it. Because it's like, you know that it's factual. Like this man,
bitch.
Who looks like this,
that dude hit 4 home runs in a game.
That dude. And that's what the card is, a challenge to you in that way.
Unbelievable.
Maybe you're having a hard time imagining it, but this man really did it.
That was like the John Daly era of baseball, where just you got lots of fat guys who could blast 40 homers a year for no discernible reason. They don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
No more Bob Hamlins and shit like that.
Yeah.
Sucks.
They all work out now anyway.
Hate it.
I believe
Big
we do
John
have some
Daly
alternate looks at Bob, boiled Bob Riley.
Yeah,
Here's a couple.
just wanted to go through a few
glasses.
things here. So we'll start with the Braves one. This is him probably swinging through a slider in the dirt.
That's not the swing of a man who connected.
Right. Probably also had a few beers when he signed the card.
He looks like the Poochie of Mario and Luigi.
And then the Cardinals one is like he's finally achieved his quest to become the human thumb.
Yeah.
This is definitely like the pierogi salesman on your local grocery store. Like he is bringing your Mrs. T's pierogies to whatever Chicagoland grocery you shop at.
It's funny. I know he never played in Chicago. I don't think that's where he's from. I think, and Drew and I have discussed this on the Deadcast many times, the cop in The Fugitive, it's like, take him down. Like that guy.
Yeah, you get a shot. You take him out.
Yeah. So that's what he looks like in the Cardinals one.
What do you weigh? The guy with the one arm.
Yeah, but it's like, it also has like kind of like Richard Reel in Office Space. Like there's no sports comps, but everything is just sort of like a character actor that you remember like getting upset in a movie from the 90s.
The waistband is triggering me because like back in those times, if you wanted to get athletic shorts or pants, they had the Max title belt waistband that was like elastic, but then also covered in like a bad sweatshirt cuff.
Yeah,
but around your tummy.
And you'd wear it and take it off, and you'd have like an impression in your body for hours afterwards.
Yeah, so if my tighty whities were too tight, my mom would be like, "You're gonna get a hernia."
It's not a rash.
Yeah.
So I believe we've got one more look.
Yes.
It's another Diamond King.
Keeping with the Diamond Kings thing.
Hey,
I don't know who did this one.
That's Benny Hill. That's Benny Hill.
It's also Perez, and I've done the zoom in so we can really appreciate the shading on the upper lip.
Yeah, that's the extra bit, the Dick Perez touch.
A
lot of guys would have been like, it's pink enough. And he's like, no, it's not.
My brother and I grew up on Benny Hill, and the funniest thing we ever saw was when Beavis and Butthead made fun of Benny Hill, and it was just Benny Hill going, "Ew, you stuck my fingers up your bum," and his hand was upset. And he said it like 5 times. So every time we'd be like, "I want to get in school, but I can't because my fingers are stuck in me bum."
Oh, all right.
There's a lot of big bully energy here too. I feel like everybody went to school with somebody that looked like this kind of.
Does not have fond memories.
Like my son has a kid at his preschool right now who looks like young Bob Horners.
Yeah, that whole facial expression is him being like, well, as he like identifies you across the playground.
Right.
It's not what you want.
Yeah, every like middle school has a kid who looks like he's 30.
Yep, that's what it was. I had a picture, so we can go on to the next card. I know we're
please.
limited for time. I had for a while as my picture at Deadspin, like that like little author photo, and before Victor took, like everybody eventually, like Victor Jeffries, our resident king, would take photos, and those would be your little photo. Before I had that, I had an image of Bob Horner, which I will send you after the show, that was taken early in his career. It's black and white. It looks like a mugshot, and he looks just terrible. And he was like 19 years old. He went straight to the majors after being drafted. And I had that as my author photo. And I remember writing a story. My first story was about Rush Limbaugh's tenure on ESPN's studio team for like Inside the NFL or whatever.
Great idea.
And I remember like I said something in there about how Limbaugh looked like shit or whatever, some timeless witticism that I am for some reason unable to remember. And I remember like a lot of people emailing me like mad, being like, "You don't look so fucking hot yourself, pal." And at the time I was like, well, yeah, I mean, that's not, it's a fair burden, but also like the person that you're criticizing actually hit 200 homers at the major league level and is not me.
You're boiled too.
My boy, yeah. I mean, looked like it. I couldn't get my hair to do that if I wanted to. Although, who knows? I mean, whatever. Give it another month. We'll see.
More will be revealed. All right, last dude of the day. Everybody, it's Vince Neil.
It's Vince Neil.
So, David, you referenced Panini America earlier. Panini America is just like such a contradiction in terms to me because panini is Italian sandwich, and here we are at Panini America. This is from their 2015 On the Tube series, which is weird because Vince Neil is decidedly not on the tube. He is a singer and an entrepreneur.
That's 2015.
Yeah,
2015, not on the tube.
Wow.
Not even on like a weird reality show.
The value of that card can be. I don't want to jump ahead.
No, please do. Feel free. I could only find one of these for sale, so hence my $25. It is for sale for $25. That does not mean it is worth $25. But these are actually signed and whatever you call it, signed and
that's not
confirmed.
He signed the wrong part of the sticker, and it doesn't look like it got put on right.
It's extremely bizarre.
I actually met Vince because I had to profile Motley Crue for GQ, and he seemed like someone he was the most uninterested person in just living that I think either. Like he was.
What year would this have been, Drew?
2015.
Yes.
And I remember because he's like, I've been everywhere, and there's an Eiffel Tower in Paris, but there's one in Vegas too. And I was like, that's a take. That is a take, Vince.
Incredible.
He looks like a real housewife of OC doing
as
like a rocker.
Yep.
So I did include the back just so we can learn more about our boy, Vince. His career consisted of much more than being the frontman for heavy metal icons Motley Crue. He produced 3 solo albums and opened a winery, a tattoo parlor, restaurants, and even a gentleman's club. Like, that's a stretch.
Yeah.
He also added,
really? A gentleman's club?
Who would have thunk it?
I assume a gentleman's club is where you get like a manicure and you get fitted for nice suits and things like that.
Yeah, that's
for sure. That's what that is. Yeah. He also added football owner to his rocking resume. They went rocking versus rockin'. I would have gone rockin' resume. David, as a writer of copy for cards, you with me?
Yeah, that's how I would have done it too. Although it's a house style thing, I don't really know how Panini does it. We were an Oxford comma house at Topps, but they might do it a different way.
I feel like
did.
I feel like more crew. You could do more crew specific puns, like
Yeah.
He kickstarted the heart of the AFL.
Yeah.
Does anybody remember him purchasing the Jacksonville Sharks? That did not make it to my radar.
So
I actually do remember that. And I think the team failed and the league failed.
Yeah. So I remember him later owning a different Arena League team in Vegas, and he sang the national anthem before a game, and it is. Whatever, with all due respect to Roseanne and Carl Lewis, the single shittiest rendition of the anthem I've ever heard. He looks terrible. He's like kind of doesn't know the words, and he's kind of trying to make up for it by adding like little Vince Neil details in it where he'll be like, wow, the Rockets, but it's like he's not really in shape to be doing the shit. Yeah.
He couldn't sing at the best of times, so I don't know what he thought he was doing.
I think guys like him are so used to backing tracks, helping them out at concerts, and I'm not against backing tracks, that when they actually have to sing Bear, they're just not ready for it. They're like, where's the background chorus of me?
Yeah.
As you said though too, it doesn't seem like it would bother him much.
No, he wouldn't give a shit. I think there are certain guys who are just have been so coke-addled for so long that there's just not much left in them to give. Like, I don't even mean like in terms of survival-wise, because I think he's interested in living. I don't think he's interested in like doing anything while he's alive.
Like any of the fine points of living, like any of the stuff, he's just like every day wakes up and it's like, I wonder if I'll get in a fight with Nicolas Cage today.
Yeah, pretty much.
But that's like more or less it.
Drew, any other cool remembrances of interviewing the crew 5 years ago? Was anybody good? Was anybody cool and interesting and fun?
Yeah, I thought Tommy Lee was one of the nicest people I'd ever interviewed. Of course, Tommy's got a spotty history of his own.
Yeah.
And I also enjoyed talking to Nikki Sixx, but like those guys, you interview a musician, they're so, particularly one from like the 80s, they're so used to being interviewed and so used to going through gauntlets and stuff like that, that you can't help but feel like you're part of the meat factory when you're talking to them. And you feel kind of bad. And, you try your best to ask interesting questions. Like, no one's going to ask about the cocaine, no other interviewer is going to swear in front of them like I am. And they've heard it all. So it's hard. It's hard to wrap your head around it. But they're also, Nicky's the one who's the head of the band and he's a pro. So he knows how to be professional. And then there are guys like Vince who don't really give a shit either way. So yeah, it's all the same shit to them.
Riley knows.
Kind of.
My man knows.
Kind of.
I see my man laughing because he knows.
You know.
You just find yourself saying the same thing over again the next day. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm rehashing the same thing. I'm like back into my default mode. How do I make this unique? But
at least
you're still trying though.
Yeah, I was gonna say you'd be trying harder than Vince Neil. He probably tries harder to maintain like a completely lineless forehead than you do, but you try harder to answer questions and like sort of unpack what you're doing as a musician.
He seems to be succeeding on the forehead.
Yeah, both. I mean, I think you guys have both done a great job at the things that you've prioritized.
Nice shiny pate.
We got to get that Botox sponsorship.
Oh, so good. Why would you want that?
Go ahead, David.
No, I was going to say, why would you want to look like that?
Nobody knows. If you want to get really depressed about the state of our union, just go through look through the 2015 Panini Americana on the Tube series. Is my advice.
Do you remember any of the other people that were in it?
It's lots of very depressing pseudo celebrities.
Yeah,
was Spencer Pratt on? Did Spencer Pratt get a card?
I did not come across a Spencer Pratt, but that doesn't mean that he exists. Does not exist. And so if we don't look for him, if we don't look for them, it'll just be like Schrodinger's Montag, and we will know he can exist and not exist at the same time.
When I was at Topps, I know I'm mentioning that a lot, but they wanted to have celebrities in the NBA set one of the years that I was there, and they did.
A Spike Lee and a Jack Nicholson?
I wish they did. So they paid Jay-Z a bunch of money, and they put him and Allen Iverson on the box. And then they spent a lot more money on Jay-Z than they did on anybody else. And then it was just a question of what other celebrities would consent to having like tons of cards of themselves in Topps basketball set. So it was like, I remember Christy Brinkley, Carmen Electra was in there. And
Carmen makes more sense than Christy.
Yeah, because she's got some NBA associations. Christy Brinkley, I think, was just like, available.
Donald Trump's Spank Bank.
It was, right. Basically, like people that like Donald Trump saw at the China Club once, and they were very interested, clearly. But it was the way that they added value. They had autographs too, although they would not have accepted what Vince is saying is his autograph here is like too lazy. Like I saw Topps send back autographs like this where they were just kind of like,
whoa,
yeah, like this doesn't. There have to be like two identifiable letters or something. Like it wasn't like a hard and fast rule, but you know it when you see it. Like
you couldn't just do an X.
Yeah, like you can, right? You're not Prince, dude. Like I don't know what this particular thing is supposed to be, but the way that they would add value with this, they had autographs, but then they would also send the celebrities jeans to try to be, and then they would put on those pants, take them off. Someone would be there to like have it to authenticate it, and then they would cut those up. And I had, or maybe still have a card that has like a swatch of Jay-Z's pants in it.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Essence of Jay-Z's balls.
Presumably someone's got like the Carmen Electra one and is like, whatever. I'm sure there's like a disturbingly robust secondary market for that one. But.
Awesome. Well, that's it for the guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us. David, where can we read your writings these days?
Wherever will have me. New Republic most recently, but I'm working on other stuff for other people. And then we did a pop-up blog, Drew and me and the rest of the former Deadspin team. And if you want to go back and read that, it's at unnamedtemporarysportsblog.com.
Hell yes. we really do miss the real Deadspin, and we certainly miss the Deadcast. I know that's a fixture, Riley, in my life for years. It was phenomenal. Drew, we mentioned the book. Do you want to plug that again, please?
Yeah, the book's Point B. You can also find me at Gen Magazine on Medium, and what used to be the Deadspin Fun Bag is now just the Fun Bag, and that's over at Vice every week for the time.
Awesome.
You should read his book. It's really good. I haven't finished it, but the parts that I read are excellent.
Yeah. Listen to him. What he said. Thank you. From one returning champion to the new champion. I cannot.
What? Would have done a spit take, but I can't afford a second computer.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Soon.
Have a good one.
See you guys. Thanks for having us on, guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Come along and remember some guys. Old school player of the week, bullets and bombs all mine. Old school player of the week. Can you believe they used the ladies out mine?